My name is Gary Sather, and this is my TGCT or PVNS story. In 2003, 2004, my right ankle had started to swell. I was really active back then. I thought it was just an injury that was stubborn to heal. Needless to say, I should have gone to the doctor sooner, but I didn't until actually about 2012. By that time, the tumor itself had grown quite large and was hindering my range of motion and my ability to walk. Basically, in talking with my doctor about the other issues, he had seen my ankle and pretty much immediately backburnered my other issues and ordered an MRI of my ankle. By that time, it was put on a fast track. The mass itself had grown to about the size of a grapefruit. So the initial MRI had come back and they suspected diffuse type tenosynovial giant cell tumor. They knew enough to know that they didn't know enough. She basically told me at that time radiation and drug options back then weren't really a heard of thing for this. So she basically just told me it was highly likely it was going to come back. She'd do the best job she could to get it out, but that she really recommended with the size of it and the damage that we amputate. I opted against that. So she did what she called a wide resection. You know, she went in and made incisions on both sides of my leg and took out everything that she could get. And actually it did a pretty good job. I stayed away until about 2020. Was when I noticed my ankle starting to swell up again, and I knew it wasn't quite right. Only this time I had some insurance again, and I was not backburnering it this time, not like the last time. I had some other medical issues going on again, unrelated, but I had my primary look at it. They did an MRI, and they did confirm in the MRI recurrence of diffuse type tenosynovial giant cell tumor. And he basically said that he wanted to do surgery first because I have bone damage this time. My tumor's in the same area, but instead of being on the outside of my of the muscles and ligaments and stuff there, it was more between the ligaments and the bone, and it was eroding at my bone. But that this time there was also an option. You know, we talked about amputation again. But he said this time there was an option to try the Turalio after surgery to keep it away and to keep it from coming back. And I thought that was great. The only problem was we found ourselves in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and they could not schedule neither my surgery nor get me lined up with oncology for the Turalio in my area. It was about that time that, you know, I got really angry. You know, it's one thing to be told, you know, it's got to come off, or here's what has to happen. It's another thing to be told, hey, there's options here, but we just can't do them because there's a pandemic that's entirely unrelated, and they consider your issues to be elective, non-essential. That was probably the hardest part out of everything. I don't think any words effectively express how angry it made me. Needless to say, there wasn't anything I could do about it. The news actually picked up my story at about the same time. I simultaneously had tripped across the TGCT support groups. I was using it as an avenue to both vent, you know, my frustrations and find comfort in peers that were there and people that were going through the same thing. Through that, Sydney Stern had picked up my story and ran with it and got me referred into Seattle Cancer Care Alliance. I was able to get on with them and talk with them and their surgeon. It was a little bittersweet because the surgeon kind of felt that it indeed had been too long. You know, maybe even just if they could shrink the tumor and maybe reduce the pressure, that would be enough to improve quality of life and to keep the foot. So between the two of them, I agreed. You know, I'd give Turalio a 6-month go and see how it works out. I feel like the hardest part with TGCT was the lifestyle changes, the change in range of motion and mobility, because I went from being really active, I was diving all the time, I was in Muay Thai, and things that, required the use of my legs, my ankles, and going on to walking with a cane and having that limitation put on me was really hard physically and mentally. Mentally almost harder than the physical aspects of it. But that's where TGCT support stepped up. That's not only did it help get me into treatment when I otherwise couldn't, but it gave me an outlet and a network of people to relate to and converse with. And within that network, I was able to learn about, the potential benefits of the Turalio and to get information and to share information, and also how amputation, if it comes down to it, it wouldn't be an end or some dramatic bad experience, but a new beginning. If I could give any information to anyone else, it is to use the group. It is a great tool. Use the TGCT groups and forums and network with your peers. You're not alone. You're never alone in this process, even though it is rare. There are people who have been through it, who are going through it, who understand and have been there too.